And yay! We are live, Jamie. We are live.
Woohoo! I
We're
am so happy to be
alive.
alive.
Woohoo! I know. Did you know? Did you know you were alive? Hello, everybody. Everyone on my Podbean channel, Coexistence, Pain, Joy, and Truth. Coexistence, Joy, Pain, and Truth. This is episode number, maybe 14. I thought it was 15. Anyways, I have to correct that. Episode number 14/15. And you're listening to Misha Safran, and this is Passing Joy Around the World. In collaboration, we are live streaming into my private Facebook group of Authentic and Wholehearted Joy. And this is a Thankful Thursday thing. So I love to post into my private group, but then I also take these videos and put them up on my YouTube channel for people to see later if they're not in my group, if they're not a woman. And then I also take my Podbean recording and my videos and I put them on my website, which I will also display. But if you are watching on the Facebook, please feel free to check in, say hello, let us know your thoughts about authentic and wholehearted joy, how you're feeling today. If you are on the Podbean podcast channel, you can also say hello. Would love to hear from you. I am super, super, super excited to be sharing this space with a dear, good, wonderful, recently made friend. And that is Jamie Bolyard. Got to say it right, Bolyard, because I have been saying it wrong, and it's important to say it right because that's who Jamie is. And Jamie Bolyard believes in the revolutionary power of self-acceptance, self-expression, and self-love. And I love that. I believe in that too.
Yay!
And she advocates for the creation of safe and sacred spaces where each person feels welcomed, seen, and free to be themselves. As a performance poet, and she's really good, live radio music host, and she's really good at that too, and educator with a background in social justice and civil rights, Jamie always strives to create a safe space for everyone, including herself, to stand up and own their unique expression. And in the comments, in the post, I've put her Gmail account. You can reach her there. In the Podbean, I will add that later. Welcome to those who have just entered the Podbean channel. Welcome to those who are watching. Please let us know you're here. Say hello, say your name. We'd love to have some engagement. So I'm going to say, as soon as she's finished drinking her water, or whatever you're drinking, I didn't ask, did I? Oh, that's what joy is all about. No, just kidding. So Jamie, hello.
Misha, thank you. I am so excited to be here with you. And I know that you share my belief in a safe space because you always create that for me. So thank you.
Thank you. So just overall, be as honest as you want. Don't be as honest as you don't want. How are you?
Currently, I am very nervous right now. Yeah, this is new to me to be put on the spot and asked questions. I'm used to doing live events, but I'm usually the one in control. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous and hoping I don't have any deer in the headlight moments, but I am open to being myself and being my little awkward self. So whatever happens, happens.
Love it. And you know what? I know this is going to sound really bad, but I hope you have some deer in the headlight moments. And the reason I hope you have some deer in the headlight moments is because a lot of people do. And I think what's really beautiful about what I'm creating in my groups and in my coaching is the opportunity to have that and get through it and know you're okay.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why I said yes to you, because it feels like my edge a little bit, and it's something I want to do, and I want to play with you and have fun with you. So I'm willing to take what comes.
Yay! And this is playful as in friends and childhood play and games. Girlfriend, are you listening? This is not, we're not playing with each other.
It's okay. Jay, other Jay.
I know, it's all very innocent. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I actually really do appreciate hearing that you were willing to push the edge, take the risk with me, and it just helps me continue to affirm that I am creating those opportunities. And so yeah, thank you. And for those of you who are not part of the Conscious Girlfriend Academy, it's for women who love women. Jamie and I both performed at the open mic last night, and it was just wonderful. And so I really do have a good example of stuff to say to all of you, that Jamie is a great radio show host. Jamie is a wonderful performer, and Jamie has a beautiful heart. And so that's another reason why I invited you.
Yay, thank you, Misha. Thank you.
So ready for the first question? Drum roll, please.
Ready.
All right. Oh, before I ask it, everybody on the podcast and everybody in the Facebook Live and anybody watching later or listening later can put your comments. And this person wrote in the chat, I'm nervous for you. Oh, thanks for participating. So glad you're here. I would love to know your name.
That's some true empathy.
I know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That takes away some of my nervousness. I'm giving it to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You take it all.
Take it away. Thanks for carrying the burden. And then somebody in the Facebook post said, hello, ladies. Yay, you too. I'm feeling eager to hear what you say. Woohoo. Oh, there's some pressure. No, I'm just kidding. So, all right. So here we go. When you hear the word joy, how does it land for you? In your body, physically, emotionally, what comes up?
I would have to say that actually the word joy brings up fear in me.
Yeah, tell me more.
Joy is a really deep place for me, and it's really also a letting go of control. And I already hinted how that's a little scary for me. So yeah, I think that joy for me always comes also with a lot of pain. And so I think joy naturally then elicits that feeling of pain that's always there with it. And I also haven't experienced letting loose and letting go and just having pure joy. So it's an unfamiliar experience to me. So it's scary just because it's unfamiliar.
Thank you. I really appreciate that honesty. And I think I was teaching a class called Embracing, Creating, and Maintaining Joy. And there were many participants that felt that way. Because, and I'd love for you to say more about the fact that when there's joy, there's also pain. Actually, before I say what class participants actually shared, would you be willing to expand on that?
Yeah. So I guess for me, to go deeper into the definition of joy would be any time that I am connecting with and accessing my core essence. And I think for me in my life, when I have accessed my core essence and shown that, there have been consequences for that. And some of the consequences then are the pain side of things. So it's beautiful, and I value and always want to touch the core of me and the essence of me. And when I do that, I'm very thankful for that. But I understand very fully that many times, or at least that's been historically true for me, many times there have been severe consequences for that. So they have always coexisted for me.
Yeah, I relate. Absolutely relate. And clearly, because the title of my podcast is Coexistence, Joy, Pain, and Truth, right? So I actually have goosebumps because I really appreciate you diving into that coexistence piece. And it's interesting because what I'm hearing you say is that the nature of feeling the joy, being in joy, has brought consequences, whereas some of the people in the class talked about how something they were in joy and then the other shoe dropped, not as a result of what they were joyful over or their essence, but for example, and I can use my own personal experience because I'm not going to use somebody else's experience. I was having a really wonderful time with a friend when I was 15. We were walking around Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley having a great time, and I got sexually assaulted. So my memory, I have to separate. It was really hard for many years to separate the joyful experience with that friend to 3 hours later being thrown up against a wall. I couldn't separate it for a very, very long time. To me, when I thought of that friend, I immediately thought of that assault. And so it's taken years to find, oh, they do coexist. I can have memories of joy, having such a great time with that friend, and I can have memories of that experience and not negate either, because both of them are the essence of who I am and my life experience. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's deep and intense, Misha, and I'm sorry that happened to you. Um, and that's a whole thing of integrating like two different experiences, and how do you separate them really, or yeah, separate the two. Um, I think for me, so I think of it all a little bit differently. Like, I'm not even thinking about sort of happy experiences. I like that your podcast has the word truth in it too, because that's really what I'm talking about. I think when I think of joy, the essence of you, the truth of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you touch that and feel that and believe that, I wouldn't change that for anything. It's very liberating and very freeing.
Yeah.
But then if you are rejected for that,
Mm-hmm.
like now it's like, I know who I am. It's unchanging. I will embrace it. But the consequences of that are, oh, well, now I see your essence. I don't like your essence. In fact, I'm maybe quite violent against your essence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's where all the it all is all together.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is worth it every time. To
Exactly.
find the truth is worth it every time.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you made that distinction, because when I was talking about my experience, yeah, we were having a happy time, but I don't feel like I could have had that happy time if I didn't have the joy inside. Like, I
Right.
truly felt the joy enough to bring the happy out of that experience with my friend. And my joy wasn't necessarily squashed because of the assault, but my happy was, right?
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
had to figure out a way to kind of they were intertwined.
Yeah.
As my essence, I feel I am a joyful person. I feel joy at a very deep level. And that's one of the questions that we've talked about in some of the podcast interviews is, what's the difference of joy and happy for you? And before we go there though, I would really like to just touch a little bit on that truth piece that you were talking about. So when you, and actually ask for a little more clarification, and you don't have to answer anything you don't want to. When you are showing your true essence, are you saying that the consequences have been, so what I heard you say is that the consequences have been people rejecting who you are. Is that right? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
But for you, still being in your true essence, the truth of you is far more important than what they need to experience with you. And they can basically not shove it, but basically they can find somebody else to enjoy, to be with. Is that what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. And I think you touched on that a little bit in your example when you said that you experience joy, or what I would call authenticity. You being authentic, you allowed you to be happy in situations, to bring your full self into situations, to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, for me, truth and authenticity, to find that, to tap into that, to be able to live your life from that place, changes the whole game of life. And I wouldn't change that for anything,
Yeah.
because it kind of doesn't matter what happens, because you're like, I know who I am. I like who I am. I'm going to now express who I am. And to find that and tap into that, I spent a lot of time looking for that, not knowing who I was. And when you find it, it's the heavens opening up. It's, you will never go backwards from that. You never want to go backwards from that. And the consequences that you might receive from other people kind of don't matter. They hurt, they're painful, whatever. But it's kind of like whatever, because I am solid now. So it makes you live life from a different place.
Totally different place. totally different place. And it's interesting. I've pretty much most of my life been an optimist and very, you know, like it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. I mean, but I've had some pretty traumatic shit in my life. Excuse the language. No kids are really watching. I don't think so. Anyways, and if they were, they probably heard it before. And now I don't even know where I was going with that. Where was I going, Jamie? Take me back.
Well, I think we were on the thread of like, it's worth it. And even when stuff happens to you, like you're solid.
Yes, yes. And that's okay. So the solid, that's where
Yeah,
I'm going.
solid. You are solid,
I'm
Misha.
solid. I'm solid. Yeah,
Solid.
solid in a few areas. I'm just, especially after what I just had for breakfast. Anyway, yeah, and I think I don't think, I know that that is the journey that I'm working to take my clients on. You know, and I'm finding that, you know, the more with each session I have with my clients, which is a new thing. So those people who are new here or new people who are listening for the first time on Podbean, I've changed my career. I've done a complete overhaul, and I'm coaching now both students from 6th grade through college, and both women, lesbian, bisexual, queer, and trans. And that is my hope and intention, that they feel more centered and solid in their own true essence, despite what the rest of the world expects, despite what the rest of the world is wanting them to be, so that they can truly be, I'm calling myself a heartstring healer, so they can tune and harmonize their body, mind, spirit into being full. And I think what you're talking about also is that nature of being solid, being within oneself, and being very comfortable with who we are. And that, to me, is the definition of joy, right? Just being totally one with ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that we have a responsibility to do that in our lives. And I worked very hard to get to this point, and I know you did as well. And I think, like you said, your life is going to change when you do that, because you're going to get rid of all the extraneous stuff that is not true and authentic to you. And you're living from a more joyful, happy place. And I know, kind of like, we're sounding a little bit serious right now, but it's a serious topic with arms open wide results. So yeah, I feel very responsible to create a safe space for myself, to first learn it within myself, to embrace all of me, all of my awkwardness, all of my awesomeness, and to go out and live that way, because that gives other people permission to do it too. It's like, well, if she can do it, if little awkward Jamie can do it, I can do it too. And that's beautiful. So that gives me permission to try new things, to make mistakes, to not do things perfectly, but have fun with life, like live an adventurous life. So that's what I try to do. And I feel like you can't do that till you have a safe space where people reflect you back to you, and you realize, I'm okay, just exactly the way I am, I'm okay, and you embrace it. So that's why I think safe spaces are so life-changing, life-saving.
Wow. Yeah. You know, it's funny, you just brought up something for me. So it's like, which thread do I follow? Which thread do I follow? All right, I'm going to say both of them, and then we'll decide which way we go. So safe space actually triggered me a little bit, because I'm taking an anti-racist leadership class. And the instructor has basically said, there are no safe places for Black people. There are no safe places. And what the article that we read talked about the difference between safe space and brave space. And I'm just going to actually just mention that and let people go and explore on their own this difference between safe space and brave space. I think the intention was meant to be very similar, but unfortunately, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not. So, but with this notion of what I feel you're saying is really a brave space, where you get to share who you are with someone who's willing to listen, hold that space for you, and not criticize, judge, or admonish you. And in order for me to have found the joy to be okay and acceptable, to be who I am, I've had to work with other people. I've had to have a team of people in my life. I couldn't do it alone. Some people think they can do it alone, but then they're alone.
Right.
And it feels like there's no validation or affirmation. Not that we have to be affirmation junkies, not that we always need to have validation from other people, but I feel like we do need a community of people to go on this journey with us, Does that resonate with you?
Yes. So it's both ways. You're right. The reason I believe so strongly in a safe space is because I have lived both sides of it. I have not had a safe space, and I have also had a safe space. And you're right. We will never see who we are until we see ourselves reflected back. And reflected back will be in a safe space where someone is looking at you with kind eyes, accepting eyes, being genuine in who they are in that moment with you. And I've experienced that, and that is life-changing. So when I take very seriously in everything that I do, creating a safe space, it is for people to come in and feel that they are welcomed exactly as who they are in this moment, that they can be who they are and it is A-OK. And they're going to see love reflected and acceptance reflected back in me. And I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to be messy me in that moment too. And that's liberating for people to see too. Like we don't have to, like there's too much putting on clothes that don't fit. There's too much being a mannequin in life. And I'm all about the real and true, and whatever that brings, let it bring, and it's safe to bring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I agree that that word, I've never heard what you're talking about, the safe versus brave. So I will have to look into that. And I know that safe space is overused by some people and used in many different ways, but I believe in the power of kindness, genuineness, acceptance, and realness in every interaction, in every moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And it's hard right now. You know, people are really having a hard time and losing that kindness and compassion that they used to always carry. You know, when I started these podcasts, I think in April, because I really want to spread the message of joy and how tools of how can we be in authentic and wholehearted joy. And then Breonna Taylor was murdered, and then George Floyd was murdered. And I was like, oh my God, I can't talk about joy right now. How the hell do I talk about joy? And I started doing those webinars, a conversation about systemic racism. And then friends of mine who are Black and brown and people of color were coming onto my webinars and talking openly in quote unquote a safe space, a brave space, to share what was going on for them. And as I was going through a month or two, I was like, why am I not doing the joy podcast? And I realized at that moment is when I shifted my notion of this one or the other. I've never lived that way, one or the other, but at the same time, circumstances have made me drop back from one or the other. And that was the moment. It was like, oh, we cannot. In fact, I had a person of color tell me once, I was getting ready for an interview with her. And she said, Misha, are you taking care of yourself? You need to take care of yourself because we need you as an ally. You need to be in good health. You need to take care of yourself. And I was like, oh, you're right. And I've been preaching that forever to other people, right? Telling that to other people. And so this is where that notion of coexistence came in. It's like, oh, I can help this area if I also help this area. I have to nurture both.
Yeah, I have very strong feelings about that. And when I say that I believe in the revolutionary power of self-expression, self-acceptance, and self-love, I am thinking about it leading to a more just society and a more fair world. And I have had the experience of having jobs and having a life where I am doing the civil rights work or the social justice work. But I have found for me personally in my own life where I make the most impact is one-on-one with people and me just being who I am in my own skin, one-on-one when I encounter people. And if I live my life treating everyone fairly and equally and openly and making room and space for everyone, that does make a difference. And that does lead to what we want societally in a more just world for everyone. So I believe that if everybody took the time to get in touch with who they are and be self-loving to themselves, you couldn't help but be self-loving with everyone around you. So I believe it's like activism.
Yeah.
to love yourself and get in touch with yourself and
Absolutely.
express yourself.
Yeah. And it takes practice.
Yeah,
No,
no
it
doubt.
takes a lot of practice and a lot of willingness and a lot of help. And I shared with you before we started the interview, I had an experience this morning where somebody got very mad at me. I was dropping off some donations and I wasn't doing it the right way. And they just started yelling at me. And I'm like, whoa. And I didn't yell back. Like I could have easily have turned it around and just, and use some cuss words. And I was like, I immediately realized, thank goodness, that this person was angry, not just because of what I did. I was the straw that broke their camel's back, maybe. But I also wasn't going to be treated that way. And so what was beautiful for me in my discovery and recovery in life is that I listened and then I said, I made a mistake. I'm really sorry that that upset you. And I would like you to stop yelling at me. Could you please pass some love instead? And they yelled a little bit more, but then we had a little more exposure. And they're like, okay, just leave your stuff. And I left, but it was really, really interesting to feel that moment of fear and the threatening to be able to just kind of emit the love and go,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
hopefully
mean,
be an example.
yeah, and that's beautiful. And you're right. Like it does take a lot of practice and we don't always get it right. Like we're learning, but it's all about accepting where we are and valuing the baby steps forward. Yeah, I mean, I noticed that with myself. Like I believe very passionately about having a safe space, creating a safe space, and not letting people invade that safe space. And I've seen with myself that sometimes when I get passionate about something, I get loud. And I realize that some people, if I'm going to raise my voice, they're immediately going to think of anger, that I'm angry, even if I'm not angry. And so I've had experiences where it's like, okay, wow, like I am so glad I stood up for myself. I stood up for what I believe in. I stood up for the people I feel like I am here to protect also. So I'm.
Uh-oh. Is it yours or mine? We're having a moment where, uh-oh, where is she? Maybe I'm the one that froze. Let me see. Are you there?
There she is back. Yay. I was sweating bullets, but I think it's okay. She's back. I kept it rolling. I kept talking.
I saw
Hopefully
that.
it's all good.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm surprised that it didn't completely discontinue. That was an
I
experience.
am so happy it didn't. I'm more happy that it wasn't my internet that went out because that's what I was fearful of also.
It
So
doesn't
yay, it was
matter
you. It's
where I
okay.
go. I was at
Did
my
you
old.
hear me say though that you were giving me this great smile and I was feeling I'm giving such a good answer. Look at Misha smiling, but you were frozen. So but here's the thing, take compliments any way you can get them, whatever makes you feel better about yourself, even if you're creating the illusion yourself. It's
Thank you everyone for sticking with us. That was hilarious. I feel like I'm just like doomed when it comes to internet because in my apartment, I had so many times where I was dropped or got frozen. And now I'm in an Airbnb and they said it was really good Wi-Fi and internet and I've had nothing but problems.
this is my life, Misha. It happens to me all the time. So I was prepared. Yay. It's all good.
Thank you for not hanging up. That was awesome.
I'm out of here.
So you know what, we're getting near to time. I want to just ask one more kind of clarifying question. Well, not so clarifying. So you talked about how it took you a lot of work. So if you could call out one tool, one helpful tool that either helped you develop your essence to be in that joy or that you use to maintain that joy, what, you can take time to think about it. We can have silence if you want. What would that be?
Well, for me, I think what has clarified for me who I am and what has also kept me alive through the years is writing. I am a poet,
You are.
and I would never have known I was a poet but for pain. And all of a sudden, words and feelings and everything started pouring out of me. And it was so real and true and raw because it couldn't be anything else at that time. And it actually kept me alive because I was so like, what is this? What is happening? I don't even think I knew it was poetry, but there was something in me that was like, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to honor this. And as I was doing that, it was slowly, I was figuring out my life and who I am. And it was giving me an outlet for my emotions. I didn't have any other outlet for my emotions. So anytime I start getting off in my life, I know that I'm not writing. So the only way I can figure out my life and who I am is to write. And music is a big part of my life too. And, you know, I have to keep that creativity going. And it's spiritual to me. The writing is very spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I can totally relate. That's where my songs come from. And yeah, and that's where my ability to coach comes from, the pain, right? When we walk through the pain, even with my students, I've helped them understand that when you take a subject that you're not so 100% with and you try to teach it to someone else, you actually build upon that skill because you're
Yes.
experienced to teach it, and then it gets more grounded. So with our pain, we go through our pain, we experience it, we walk through it, and then we can work with other people to heal the same.
Yes. And that's why I preach what I preach all the time about be who you are, say what you got to say, feel what you feel, take up your space, because I'm preaching to myself too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We always need to, I feel like we always need to hear what we're telling other people. Like there's
Yeah.
no thought about it for me at
Yeah.
all. So
Yeah.
do you want to tell everybody about your radio show, anything about your business? Like, do you want to tell people what you do? Or, I mean, I know that I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you're wanting.
Yeah, sure. I'm hard to find. I'm very grassroots and so forth. But I host a couple of music programs on community radio. It is kopn.org. And I do a show called World Woman, where I play all music by female artists. And I am very much about song lyrics. So I always pick a theme. It's a positive theme, and all of the songs fit that theme. And I read the lyrics and preach my message of be who you are. I have another show called One Groove, where I just do whatever I feel, but it's another music show where I play lots of music and still be myself. I'm hard to find because I don't always, other people do those time slots sometimes as well. But kopn.org, One Groove, and World Woman. I do my performance poetry, and Misha gives me a wonderful space every month to do that, which I thank you for.
Oh my God, pleasure. I love listening to you.
Yeah, it's always beautiful. And like you talk about you teaching, I do some teaching and education as well, where my whole goal and only goal is that people feel self-confidence and feel free to be who they are. So I love your podcast, and I love, your topic and diving into it. And I appreciate that you asked me. I was like, I don't know why she's asking me, but yes, I'm going to go play with Misha. Yes.
Okay, so wait a minute. You don't know why I'm asking you.
When you first asked me, I was like, wow, okay, sure, yeah.
So now, why do you think I asked you? This is
Well, I
talking
think
about self-worth and self-love, right? If you're willing.
I know Misha's my
out,
coach.
girl.
She's got to coach me. Okay.
I'm not really her coach. She's just talking about that right now.
No, you're not my coach. Well, I think that we have a very deep common interest in these subjects. And I think that just like I see the light in you and the positivity and the heart-centeredness in you, you see that in me. And so you wanted us to chit chat today.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I really, when I knew I had an opening, you're the first person I thought of.
Oh.
And that is one of the reasons why, all that what you just said, but also because I've watched you perform. I've heard your words. I've heard you share about things. And I see you as a beautifully authentic human being in a community to which I'm relatively new. I only came out 3 years ago. And I trust you. And I do think you're playful and fun. And so those are so many reasons why I would ask you. And so I invite you, next time somebody invites you and you don't know why, to actually know why. I'm sure I think you know why.
I'm gonna replay this, Misha, and I will know why, and I will be pumped up when I go in. But thank you, actually. Thank you for saying that, because that means a lot to me. And actually, what even touched me the most in that was when you said, "I trust you." So I value that, and I take that as a serious responsibility in everything that I do. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this was wonderful. I'm so glad this worked out. I'm glad
Yeah.
it looks like you kind of got over your nervousness. I mean, I don't see any nervousness, but like.
Well, and I'm glad that you came back, because then I would have had to like ask myself a question and go over here and then come back and ask, and that would have been interesting.
Oh, that's great.
So
Oh,
I'm glad
somebody,
you're back.
I know we're wrapping up, but somebody in the podcast asked how to love myself. That's a really important question. Thank you for asking that. And what I'd like to do is because we are at the end, I want to honor our time, but I will send a little message into the podcast to the person who's asked it. And if you want to chat further about that, we can certainly talk more about that. Thank you for attending. Thank you for listening to all of you. So I am going to end the, okay, the person said, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to end the live, both in Podbean and Facebook. And is there anything you want to say, Jamie, to the listeners or to the viewers before we say adios to them? And then you and I wrap up?
Well, thank you for being here and supporting Misha, and for listening to me, and listening to us chat. Misha has my email listed, or she's going to list it, and I welcome anyone to reach out to further the conversation, or to find out more about my work or anything. I welcome that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so don't go anywhere, Jamie. It's like the radio show, right? When people call in, you put them on hold a little bit and then you,
Yeah,
okay.
don't go
So
anywhere.
thank you, Facebook followers, and thank you, Podbean followers and listeners. Again, Misha Safran. I was interviewing Jamie Bolyard. And Jamie has mentioned what she is and what she does. I am an academic life coach as well as a heartstring healer, primarily for lesbian, bisexual, queer, and trans women. However, I do work with all gender, non-gender conforming, etc., to build a more authentic life for oneself, to find your own authentic and wholehearted joy. So signing off to Podbean. Thank you so much, everyone. And signing off to Facebook. Thank you how do I do that? Oh yeah, bye everyone on Facebook. And I'll stop the recording now.